Hi everyone. This is the first of 3 short videos that I'm going to show you to go over the material that we would have gone over in class today. In the background is the handout that I would have given you in class. So what I would like you to do is it's posted in the announcement and just print out that whole thing, and then you'll use it and we'll work our way through most of it in these videos, and you'll have some examples left that you can try. So we're looking at how to simplify rational expressions and then eventually to solve rational equations. So simplifying rational expressions really just means we're trying to, add or subtract fractions, but these fractions have variables in the denominator. So I'm going to show you these 2 examples on how we could find a lowest common denominator, okay, because we're trying to add fractions, so we need a common denominator, and how to decide like what our denominator needs. So this first one on the left, the denominator x minus 1 and x plus 1. So those 2 factors, I don't really have anything in common between my 2 denominators, so my denominator really needs both of those factors. So let me show you the one on the right. Before we'll come back and finish this one. But on the one on the right, for me to pick out my lowest common denominator, I really have to factor this, and I have to factor this. So this one's going to factor into x minus 3, x plus 2. And the second one's going to factor into x plus 2, x plus 3. So my lowest common denominator for that one, okay, so I start with my first fraction, and that has an x minus 3, so I definitely need an x minus 3 for my common denominator. And then it has an x plus 2, so I definitely need an x plus 2 for my denominator. And then I go over to my other fraction, and I see, okay, well that one has an x plus 2 as well. But since I already have an x plus 2, I don't really need to add another one of those. I want to try to pick my lowest common denominator, so I don't want to take more stuff than I need. So I don't need that one, but I do need this other x plus 3 because my denominator doesn't have that yet. Okay, so my next thing to do, just like if these were all numbers, is I would rewrite with this common denominator. So I'm going to create 2 new fractions, and I'm going to put my common denominator in each of the denominators. And I'm going to figure out what do I have to do, just like if these were numbers. I'm just going to put a little example up top here. All right, let's say we had, say, 1/2 plus 2/3, right? And we had a common denominator of 6. Okay, the next thing you would do is you would figure out what you did to the old fraction. I times that one by 3, so do the same to the top. And I times that one by 2, so I do the same to the top. So that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, so from my old denominator to my new one, this is what I multiplied by. So I'm going to multiply the top by it as well, and I'm going to bring down the one that was already there. Now, because it's a 1 right there, I didn't really need to put that in front, but I'm just trying to show that I brought down my old numerator and multiplied by whatever I needed to make that common denominator. So now, for the second fraction, my old denominator was x plus 1. Okay, so my new one is missing. My new denominator has an x minus 1. I multiplied by x minus 1, so I have to do the same to the top. This kind of looks like a 2, but this is a 1 right here. I don't know if I can, there we go. Okay, so I multiplied by x minus 1, and then I have to bring down what was on top. So the idea is if I reduce each one of these fractions and canceled out the common factor, I would be right back to where I started. So I haven't created any new fractions. I've really just rewritten with a common denominator. So now I'm ready to combine my numerators. So that would give me, let's see, we have an x plus 1 plus 2x squared minus 2x over x plus 1, x minus 1. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to simplify the numerator and leave my common denominator the same. So let's see, the best I can do up top is I'll just kind of rearrange it. 2x squared. When I combine like terms, I have minus x and then plus 1. And that is simplified all the way. I was really just getting written as one fraction. So let's try to do the same to the other one. Okay, so We have our common denominator, so we're going to rewrite both fractions with it. So our common denominator is x minus 3, x plus 2, x plus 3. So that's got to go into both. X minus 3, x plus 2, x plus 3. So for each one, I'm going to say, okay, look at my old denominator to my new one. This x plus 3 is the part that I multiplied my old fraction by to get to my new fraction. So I'm going to bring down the 3 and multiply by x plus 3. And if you were to cancel those x plus 3's, you would have the exact fraction you started with. So that means we haven't changed anything. So then for the other one, when I go from my old one to my new one, the x plus 2, this right here was already there. The x plus 3 was already there. This is my new part, so I'm going to bring that up top so I can adjust the numerator, and my numerator was a 2 to begin with. So let's see what we have now. Okay, so now I'm going to distribute, so I've got 3x plus 9, and now that I'm really distributing a minus. This was a minus in between them, so that will become a minus 2x plus 6 all over. I'm just being a little bit lazy here, and I'm going to say, I know I have another step to simplify, so I just rewrote LCD instead of writing the whole thing. But then I'll do one last thing, and then I will put my LCD back in. Combine my numerators, which would give me an x plus 15. And that's as simplified as I can get. Okay, so let's do one more together. I'm going to leave those two down there for you to try, but let's go on to the next page. Okay, so let's do the one that's up here, finding, it's a subtraction, and let's factor that bottom denominator. So that would factor into y plus 2, y minus 2. Okay, so let's figure out what our LCD is going to be here. Alright, so the first fraction has a y minus 2, so I need that. And then the second fraction has a y plus 2, y minus 2. So I already have the y minus 2 accounted for, and this one needs a y plus 2. Okay, so that is my lowest common denominator. There's nothing saying you couldn't take all three, but it would not be your lowest common denominator anymore. This one will have the least amount of simplifying that I'm going to have to do. So let's put our denominator in, and let's adjust our fractions accordingly so that we haven't created any new fractions. Okay, so from my old denominator to my new one, this part is what's new. That's what I multiplied by. So I had to do the same to the top. I brought down what was already in the numerator and multiplied by y plus 2. So here from my old denominator to my new one, I haven't changed anything, which means the top won't have to change either, okay, because my lowest common denominator was the denominator of that fraction anyway. So now let's just see what we can do for, let's distribute. So we have, let's see, y to the third plus 2y squared. Actually, I think I can do this all in one step. Minus y, because there's nothing to combine, over, and then my common denominator. And there's nothing else to actually simplify for that one, so I'm going to leave it just like that. Okay, so to practice this, go back to that front page and just try those other two examples before you start the homework with this. So that's the first video, and then the second one is going to show you how you use that lowest common multiple, which is the lowest common denominator, to solve some of these equations.